name is Angela Crook. I'm a native here of Gary, Indiana. Proud of my hometown. Currently living in Atlanta as a working actress. I started out as background. I'm a part of Star, going to the 3rd season as core. Have like a recurring role on there. I've been in Black Panther, Saints and Sinners, and Greenleaf. New movie coming out Friday worldwide is The Hate You Give. And that movie pretty much is about, a 16-year-old who friend gets shot, and it starts her role of being an activist. And just acting, the whole art form came about coming from a family of 14 brothers and sisters. Kind of got like lost in the crowd and quiet and shy, but in the 9th grade started taking acting classes, and it's like I found my way, like I found my voice, and I could become different characters. But then my love of writing came about, and next year I will be screening my film here. So being behind the scenes gives you a broader spectrum of whatever you want to do, whether you want to write or you want to produce or be an actor or actress. So it opened up so many windows, and the networking has been the key as well. But the main thing is just the passion. It chose me. I didn't choose it, and it's just a part of who I am. And so that's pretty much my backstory.
I'm Mike, your solo film. I can't do any better than that. I mean, I make awesome. Movies, and I talk about movies on my YouTube channel. We just crossed 200,000 subscribers. I hope if you're not already subscribed, please join us. We have dialogue all the time.
That's it? Come on, man. Tell me some more, bro.
I'm saying just watch the movie. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay. All right. I'm Paul Porter. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a radio and TV guy. And the thing about film that sort of reminds me of the music industry is the images and all the experiences that we're starting to see come out in film has happened in my life. I get to be older than everybody else here too. I wrote a book, it's called BlackOut. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give everybody a book today before you leave. Every book that I give out or sell, I put my name and number in it. So all I ask for you to do is to read the book. Then after you read the book, send me a picture with you in the book and call me and whatever, and we'll experience it. But the reason why I wrote this book, I've been lucky enough, I programmed Black entertainment television. I've worked in some of the best markets on the planet, New York and Washington, D.C. And when I was at Hot 97 in New York, working, which was a top station in New York, I spent a lot of time volunteering. And there was a young girl named Latia who was in the 8th grade at a public school in Queens. And she came up to me with a note, and it said, "Mr. Paul, could you please get this record off the radio?" And the name of the song was Raw Diggin'. The chorus of the song was "Gotta beat that bitch with a bat." Gotta beat that bitch with a bat. And it used to bother me as hip hop and rap changed and the images got worse and worse. And I knew it was affecting the mindset of kids all the time. And when I asked Latia what is wrong, she said, "Mr. Paul, my mom's in Roosevelt Hospital. My dad beat my mom up with a bat. And the kids were making fun of her." And it was like I had an epiphany right then that I knew in my heart what I was doing was wrong, playing some of the craziest records. So I took a stand. And I'm not gonna be too long, but I said I'm a radio guy, so I talk longer than you. So I took a stand And I went to the program director at the station, and Tracy Clarity at the time, and she told me, you're too sensitive. So I emailed Jeff Smullian, who owned MS Broadcasting, and his base was in Seattle. Didn't know him from Adam. And luckily, he answers me back in 10 minutes and says, no way we play records like this. Well, one thing led to another. The records came off the air. Then the next day I go to work, Funkmaster Flex. There's a memo up on the board at the studios, and it said, these records have come off the air because Paul Porter complained about it. So everybody was fighting with me like, yo, man, you too sensitive, bitch. Anyway, I almost got in a fight. To make a long story short, I never worked in radio again after that. Lost my crib. 4 days later, the New York Daily News wrote a story about DJ Take Stand. The next thing I was on TV, and I've been on a mission ever since. And I bought my own radio station 2 years ago in Orlando. It's called The Wire 98.5. And we play hip hop and R&B, and the station's doing well. But guess what? I don't do all the super nasty images and messages in the music, and I control the content, and it's working. And it just proves that a lot of stuff that we see and that's manufactured by money are not our images, are not our whole story. So when I decided to write this book, and the title BlackOut scares people. BlackOut means a temporary loss of consciousness. And I realized I lost my consciousness too. Because I talk about when I was programming BET, it was in 66 million homes. When I took the job and left New York to go back to DC, I had a check, a FedEx come to my hotel. It had $30,000 in cash in an envelope. I kept the $30,000. But I also told them, you're not going to tell me what records I play. They got pissed, and here we are, 18 years later, and I'm talking the same thing. So in other words, there's a lot of power in controlling the messages and owning your own. I own my own. Am I rich? No. But I feel much better now. And that's why it's important for me to go anywhere I can. If it's 15 people in the room, if it's 2 people in the room, if I can get one of y'all, I'm happy. That's it.
So, I like the idea of talking about our images and, the role of folks who manage and control our images. Can you talk a little bit about that from your perspective? Let's start with Mike, and then Angela, and then Paul.
Who manage and control our images? Is as it relates to black film, you're saying? Well, it's changed. I mean, clearly, Wakanda was a big shift in terms of the commodification of black film. So, and I think this film that you saw was something I'd been working on for a long time, and I decided to release it last year around the time Oprah made her Screen Actors Guild speech. I felt like there was a shift happening where some of this information, while it may not be as relevant if it's not shared now, but I think, again, like he's saying, a lot of the topics and things are still part of the conversation. So, and it's very interesting and important that we see people that are now more successful sharing their thoughts and opinions, When I do a podcast with Charles Woods, one of the things we're exploring in addition to like factors of colorism and different things, like who has the power, it falls in line with representation or justice. You know, are we being, because Charles, he comes from a perspective that black film, 100% of it is reactionary. It's not something that we initiate. So anytime that we are in a good, it's cyclical, so when we're in a good position where there's a lot of images being made of us, it's usually in reaction to something, as opposed to something that's initiated. So a lot of where black folks are benefiting right now because of Trump, because of Black Lives Matter, because of Oscar So White, this sort of fear, in a sense, that we have super amounts of racism in the news, and executives who benefit from a great deal of privilege saying, well, we're not that racist. You know, so the first wave of that was when Obama came in, and we got to see movies like The Help and 42, civil rights movies, Selma, that kind of said, well, you know, we've come a long way, haven't we? You know, and now we're in what I feel is a wave of representation where, because there's more platforms, we're getting some more representation of ourselves that we can identify with. But as much as we wore our dashikis, 99% of money that we spent to see Black Panther went right back to Disney, went right back to Marvel. There's only one black executive at Disney that has the power to greenlight, and he's been very instrumental in terms of helping get Queen of Katwe made and get Ava on board for Wrinkle in Time. But 99% of that is keeping a house in order that is more concerned, as you say, with the dollar than it is about really truly giving us images that empower us.
Okay, for me, now that I'm beginning to produce my own film, being in front of the stage, being behind the stage, what I see is that if you're able to have freedom with your creativity, you're in control of like what's seen. And then when you like the film that I'm doing next is called Zilla with mental illness. So sometimes people, everything I tried to gather up, it was like it's in a book, but it was from maybe therapists or counselors' point of view, and like some of the people that experienced it. But for me, I actually interviewed some people and like getting that raw, you know, their story, and then letting them tell it themselves. When I was beginning to film part of my movie 2 years ago, the camera was rolled, and it's like I had given some of the people, the actors, the script, but then they just started doing their own thing, and it's like, it was amazing because it just came to life. And so I didn't stop them. I was like, okay, that wasn't on the script, but that's okay. Because sometimes like that magic just happens, and it's like I was and I'm in control of like how that's gonna play out. Like I don't have to take it out because of a budget or because of the time or what have you, but it just fit. And so when you have that control, it's more, you're empowered more, you know. And so just having that freedom to create your own content empowers you. That's what I believe.
Well, one of my favorite sayings is, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. I mean, every place, look, I'm 61 years old. There's not too many places I haven't worked. All big companies, from NBC, where Donnie Simpson gave my start, to Kathy Hughes, to BET, to wherever. Most of the time, it doesn't end up well.
For black people?
Just in general. I mean, you're always going to be phased out, black, white, green, but especially, you know, black music departments, black filmmakers, black radio stations. When the budgets go, you go. And I kept finding that same experience, no matter how successful I was. Look, Kathy Hughes, I took one of her stations in DC from a 0 share to 4.6. Yeah, well, she went from making $150,000 to $4 million. Okay. 9 months later, I got fired. And it blew my mind, you know. I'm like, normally this is when you get rewarded. But the system that I had worked out was a bonus system. You know, for every 10th of a point, which was worth $100,000 in sales revenue, I wanted a $1,500 bonus. So when one of the bonuses checks came up to $29,000, she was like, yo, he is costing me too much money. And she didn't look at it from that point. So I started to go a little crazy. And I saw it happen at BET. The same thing happened when I took over BET. I was programming in 66 million homes. I took all the crap off the network. The ratings went up. Bob Johnson sold it to Viacom. I was out. And from that point, I sort of said, I gotta control my own destiny. Has it been easy? No. But guess what? I still got all my hair. I'm still healthy. And right now, I got a thriving small radio station that controls, you know, a 20-mile radius in Orlando.
That's a lot of
I sleep well. My house is paid for. My car is paid for. Karen can tell you I'm still kind of broke. But guess what? I got peace of mind. And that's what I think the big picture here is. You know, when you can control it and put your love and passion into it. You know, I came here and would I love to sell 500 books? No, but if I can get 500 messages to people, that's the real power in this game. And getting, when that little girl told me, get this record off the radio, you know, she was 13 years old and she saw it. So I think, you know, the film game is like the music game. And I know all you listen to music and have the same feelings about some of the things that you hear and that you're fed into. I was lucky. I grew up and I didn't know who Nina Simone was, but I used to spend weekends at her house. But, and I saw a lot of things that people didn't get to see. So I wanted to be in the entertainment business. I wanted to do, you know, big things. And I've done a lot of great things, but it's easy to fall victim. It's easy not to believe in yourself.
That brings me to my next question.
Go ahead.
So, you know, Mike, how do you not fall victim?
Fall victim to the trap. What trap? Nobody's checking for me. I'm just like, I align more with what Paul is saying. Is like I think my integrity comes from a good support system early and just catching the right wave, you know, being a certain age, coming up growing up through the 70s and seeing black culture manifest at such a high level, both artistically and commercially. You know, the reason I call my company Real Black as opposed to Real Negro, Real African American, is when we were black in terms of identifying within the culture. I feel that that's when we were our strongest, and that's why I really want to see us manifest. You know.
Can I just break in real quick? You know, I talk about it in the book, the most powerful record in my lifetime that changed my whole world was when I was 10 years old and I heard Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. James Brown used to live like 20 blocks away from me in Queens. And back then, color was, you know, I wanted to be like Bucky and Reddy, my Puerto Rican friends that had the straight hair and were light skinned. That was who was their father married Nina Simone. But when I heard that record, all of a sudden, I was black. And I've been black ever since. I haven't been African American, but that's the power.
Yeah, and my coming of age, when my senior year of high school was the year She's Gotta Have It came out and Hollywood Shuffle. So right away I was indoctrinated into a belief of what the fights were, and also, you know, very few books at the time on black film. Still not enough books on black film, but the main one was Donald Bogle's Tom's, Coons, Mammies, Mulattoes, and Bucks, and it basically traces the whole legacy of the kind of roles that black folks had to do, the whole history of black film and the struggle between independent expression representation versus what Hollywood does. So I kind of knew going in this is where I wanted to position myself. And Hudlin Brothers, all that sort of new, that big turning point, because before there was like literally a dearth of black film in theaters for about 10 years, from the end of The Wiz to She's Gotta Have It. It was about 8 years, 9 years. So I didn't really get a chance to see anything, you know, and then all of a sudden this wave hit, and also Public Enemy hit, and all this other stuff. So even though, you know, it wasn't blackety black, you know, I was exposed to a lot of consciousness raising. So I always felt that I wanted to see that in the work, but you know, at the same time, you know, there weren't that many opportunities within the industry. So it's almost like, and Haile Garima speaks of it as like, you know, I went to the best film schools, trust me, the best film schools. Some of the people I know at NYU are responsible for billions of dollars in box office grosses and have done well for themselves. Night Shyamalan, Brett Ratner, the guy who did The Hangover, all the people, they basically siphoned off the young talent out of NYU and put them in Hollywood. And there seemingly was no place for me, right? So I think the 10, 15 years of just sort of self-apprenticeship, making things within my own space has given me a level of integrity and now a body of work that I'm very proud of. It might be not traditional, it might not be monetizable to most, but literally, trust me, if you watch any of the stuff on the YouTube channel, it's 1,000 clips, and I'd say 900 of them I'm responsible for directly with my hands making. So I think that's what speaks for me at this point and represents what I want to see. And it's very frustrating that most people are so, they know before you do things what you're going to do. They have your algorithm down, right? So it's very easy to target you and convince you that this is what you like. And the reality is that we all like the same things. And again, you know, originality and all the stuff that black culture stands for, we're not seeing it yet. Not in the way that I imagine it should be. And it's basically because the biggest problem I think with black folks is that we wait for others to assign value on ourselves. From the slave auction on down, we don't know our names. We were given black. You know, we don't label ourselves. We get judged and labeled just on appearance, and then we're forced into this monolithic idea of who we are, and a lot of us buy into it. You know, so what's great about now is we do get to see a little more truth-telling, but the commodification of the culture frightens me, because not the next wave of the way people are getting opportunities now, they've been knocking at that door. Trust me. Was it 2010 Ava's talking? And she still looks the same, but that's 2010. That's 8 years ago. She's talking about this, and now you're seeing this thing flourish, and the same with tons of people in there. Some of those videos, Kevin Hart, you know, see how skinny he is? He's still talking the same thing. You know, but it's those people have been knocking on that door for 20 years. Now it's opened up a crack, and we're getting to see stuff we've never seen before, and we're loving it. And now Hollywood's saying, oh, there's value here, and now a value is being placed on us the same way when people came to the motherland and said, oh, what are those things? Oh, those are just diamonds. Oh, that's just oil. Now we can take that and sell it, but then what happens when it's all gone? That's why I'm here. I want to see the next wave of talent coming with a level of responsibility besides pimping ourselves out and selling our souls for diamonds, because the movies really do influence and impact us in ways that we don't even know. but there are people that it's their whole job to know exactly how to control you through these images. So that's the main reason I like coming to this.
Well, we do have another film coming up, but I do want to, and I hate to cut the panel short, but I want to take maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience if you all have questions, and then we really do need to move on to the film.
It's not necessarily a question, but more of a comment. I do feel that, we have to be very careful and say that there's a lot of education that's not taught from the beginning. So as a person who labels myself as a Black person, I don't use African American. We aren't taught those things in the schools anymore. But as a teacher, I'm teaching that. There has to be someone who says, let's move past this. Let's teach more than just what is told to us. We have to be the ones who buck the system. There's a lot of teachers, even Black teachers, who don't do that because this is the curriculum. This is what we're going to do. So I think sometimes it's unfair to say, well, we are just sort of going with the flow of things because sometimes people just don't know. So as filmmakers, as artists, we have to then educate and be a little kind to the folks that don't know, so that they can know and do better.
Well, that's my entire point. Is I'm saying the barrier of entry in entertainment existed for so long now. Half of it was gatekeepers, people basically judging whether your work was of value, and the other, when it comes to film, was literally expense. It costs a lot of money to even get a 10-minute short done 10 years ago. Now you can you can knock out 20 movies in a weekend if you wanted to on an iPhone, and a lot of it could be great, So I'm not knocking anybody's desire or willingness to tell stories or make art. What I'm saying is that we are benefiting as an audience. The catharsis of like, wow, I didn't know. Hidden Figures, really? Who knew? It's because you have a layer of actors that have gone on to get power and become producers, and then they're in a position to identify talent to write the scripts or act, and then you have maybe a few executives that feel a certain way about a story, and they get it made, and that's what we get to see with this great feeling. So but yeah, you're right. As a curriculum, it's what you know, and I'm just saying that the next wave, and we see this every time that there is a subculture that's commodified, and you can point directly to hip hop. My challenge is if we don't come out and talk about this and try and point people in the right direction in terms of educating them about the integrity of what these stories do, how they travel, what they mean to people, and it's not just product, because it's all the industry sees. They see the box office, and they make compromises to try to get more money. Then we are really in danger of having Black film turn into mumble rap, and that's something I'm purely against. Because film means that much to me.
Looking at your careers, like looking back at them, what do you think the biggest mistake is that you made? If there has been one.
Actually,
What would you have done differently?
Maybe you would keep it the same because you're here now.
Okay.
I think my biggest mistake was chasing money. Like, money makes you forget a lot of things, I was making $100,000 a year in 1982, and you couldn't tell me anything. If you look on C-SPAN, they gave me 90 minutes to talk about the book, BlackOut, and I talk about a lot of experiences. So one day, and what?
It's gonna be a long story.
No, this is quick. I told the story earlier. That's why I thought of it. This one I knew I was in trouble. I went to my Coke man's house, and on his couch was Mayor Marion Barry, John F. Kennedy Jr., and Jim Vance, who was the anchor at the NBC station at Channel 4. All big names, and they're all dead. So I feel blessed that I made it out of that era, but I think that was my mistake. I fell for the bait. You know, I was just the same person, and until that young lady woke me up, you know, it started a new life for me 20 years ago. Otherwise, I'd probably be dead. That's all.
You know, the fear, staying within the box of what had been done before. I would say, being a first-generation graduate of college, I thought it was all about making good grades, and the reality is, half of it is your connections and stuff. And you know, unfortunately, at an institution like an NYU or whatever, when you literally feel like you're on Noah's Ark, you're one of those few black people. Literally, there's a black man and a black girl in each of my film classes. You spend a lot of energy fighting just to reinforce your idea, your vision, as opposed to, like I said, other places that's already established. You know, if you're Jewish, you go to NYU and you're interested in film, there's already an industry in place looking for a young person like you. And you know, so just you know, after a little bit of trauma, you talk yourself out of good ideas. And you know, being a Virgo, I self-analyze anyway. So probably being more audacious next time. But I think there's opportunity for everybody. So, but I just don't. At the same time that reinforced my ideal for perfectionism or quality, and that's the real struggle. It's like, you know, if you want to stay in the game, you can't be mediocre. I mean, they're going to use you, and they're going to use us. Representation versus justice. Of course, I'm going to go see a movie with Taraji Henson and Idris Elba on the poster. Who wouldn't? I fiend for it, but then I get there and it doesn't speak to me at all. But they got my money. Then I feel like you're only going to rip me off enough times before I just wait for it to come on Fire Stick. So that's my perspective. But anyway.
I think for me, it's not any regrets or anything, but that maybe starting sooner. And it's like the content that we have within ourselves, like even if it's just for our own self-gratification or the young lady, the one person, everybody has a story. And if we share our stories within ourselves, you never know who that may touch. You may be the one that spark an interest or give that other person the power to say, you know what, I'm going to share my story too. And even if no one else sees it, but they can get it out with themselves. So I think they're starting sooner. But it really doesn't matter like how old you are or when you start. It's just that you start, you know. And so, yeah.
It really is a pyramid. I think he says in Haile Garima, it's like you can't have a Christopher Columbus mentality with this. We all stand on the shoulders of what's been done before. Mm-hmm. And like you're suggesting, we have to know. We have to know the legacy that we're here to uphold, or else it will, like Harry Belafonte says, it will destroy us all, because we are in a realm where everything, as soon as you think of it, is instantly available, and we are all pre-programmed and conditioned for immediate gratification and what feels good. And unfortunately, as we know in life, what feels good is not always what's best for us. And when you're talking about movies that have representation for a whole community, what we're exposing ourselves to is very important that we have a balanced diet. I'm down for whatever, but I just need to see more things that speak to me the same way other people have a very diverse range of choices when they go to movies.
Last word, Mr. Porter.
It's still the same. If you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. And anybody who wants a book, as long as you read it, I'll give it to you for free. In $19.99 on Amazon.
I have a copy. I bought a copy.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, that's all.
Thank you.
I'm glad you folks are here.